Hey there, folks. Chris McLean, Peak Performance and Transformation Coach, and we're back again with yet another episode of the Peak Performance and Predictable Growth Show, the peak performance show for creative agency founders, owners, and leaders, where we explore the agency journey from the unique perspective of those at the coalface of the industry. My guests help unlock and dissect strategies, tools, and tactics from the trenches that are working right now to help you deliver better results for your clients and grow and scale your agency to 6, 7 figures and beyond. It's my pleasure to welcome in the studio today Wayne from Mayhem Digital Media. And Mayhem help online coaches and course creators scale to 7 figures with social media marketing, paid ads, and YouTube. Sounds super interesting to dive into. Wayne, thanks for stopping by, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So take us through what got you started in this wild and woolly world of helping digital creators, online coaches, YouTube marketing. How did you get into all of this?
The short answer is by accident, Chris. Before I got into the marketing world, I used to fix F-16s in the United States Air Force.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The reason that I do what I do today just happened because when I learned that I couldn't do what I did for the Air Force on the civilian side, I had to choose an alternate route. Long story short is that when I got out of active duty, I had to use what they call the GI Bill to fund my college. And I thought that every college could give me a license to fix aircraft on the civilian side. That's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, right.
I also knew that you could make 6 figures doing so straight out of the gate. And they said, well, if you want to make 6 figures coming straight out of college, then you need to be an accountant. And I said, oh, God, no, what's next? Accounting does not.
No one wants to be an accountant.
No. And then secondly is that they said, well, if you don't want to do accounting, then you need to be in marketing. I said, okay, cool. Let's do marketing. So met my wife, got married, got my college degree, and started. We moved down here to San Diego in 2008 or 2009. We were sitting on the beach, and about 2 weeks into being here, and I got a call from a real estate marketing company, and they hired me on the spot, and the rest is kind of history. I worked for other companies, various fields for 6, 7, 8 years maybe. I ended up doing business-to-business loans in 2015 for about 6 months, hated my life. And I had a buddy that was doing really well in solar. And solar is really what started my entrepreneurial journey, to be honest.
Okay.
I worked for the solar company, and they didn't really know what they were doing when it came to lead generation at all. And I revamped their entire marketing process. And after about 6 months, I had a program that took their sales from 10 sales in November 2015 to 27 in December of the same year.
Nice.
So yeah, we more than doubled their sales. We revamped the sales process, lowered the cost of acquisition, all kinds of stuff. It was a real revelation, and we started selling it to other solar companies. And so what ended up happening is I became kind of a one-man banana stand. I was bringing on the clients. I was running the Facebook and the Instagram ads. I was building the websites, and they were only paying me $75K a year. And I said, wait a minute. When I left that company, I had built it up to have about 25 clients. They were all paying about $1,500 a month. And, you do the math. They were making almost more in 1 month than they were paying me in a year. And I was doing all the work.
The maths didn't quite add up for you?
Yeah, it didn't add up. So I left that job in 2016, and I started what was supposed to be the premier solar agency. That was going really, really well up until COVID happened last year. I don't know how it was for you guys down in Australia, but here in America, for the first couple months, solar guys weren't considered essential workers.
Yeah. So a lot of that happened here. Anything other than construction and medical and a couple of things like that were
exactly
knocked off pretty quick.
And so I was lucky and fortunate in the fact that I had a client that I was working with at the time that was a men's marriage coach. And he came to me because he wasn't happy with the other agency, and we were able to really put together a solid campaign, continue the growth of his coaching programs, and it just had a really, really good relationship. And I thought to myself, I said, well, I was already kind of over the solar industry in the first place because I don't know what happened, but before COVID, I was able to charge a pretty decent amount. We're talking $1,500, $2,500 a month for the services. And somebody must have like put up a banner in the digital marketing community saying, hey, solar companies make awesome, have awesome margins. So everybody and their mother come be a solar marketer. And so I was being undercut a lot on price and things like that. And, so in a way, COVID was kind of a blessing. It got me away from something that I wasn't necessarily so passionate about. And I really, like I said, I really, really had a good relationship with this coach that I'm referring to. And I thought, well, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and insulate the business against something like this, because who knows when it's going to change, right? Still hasn't changed much. Yeah. You know, thankfully we're on the upswing now. It feels like.
Yeah.
But I thought, well, why don't I start working with coaches, and why don't I start helping them build their programs? And I'm also working with another coach right now that we're building his program literally from the ground up. It's about being like, you know, the king of your castle and taking ownership of your business and your family, and just basically your kingdom is what he calls it. And so we're starting to get some real traction there. And really that's where Mayhem was born. And I called it Mayhem because it was birthed from Mayhem. Like the whole world went to shit real quick.
Yeah. Love it.
And so, you know, the way that you survive in today's marketplace is you think on your feet. You think about what you've had success with in the past. You think about how that would be valuable to other people, and you manage your message in regards to that. And we also started a group called Managing the Mayhem of Digital Marketing to help other people that might be going through the same process there as well. So it's definitely been an interesting journey. And, you know, part of the reason why we got into YouTube too, to completely answer your intro question, is because we started to see dwindling returns from Facebook ads, specifically in solar. Just, you know, everything kind of reaches that point of saturation, no matter what vertical you're in. And so you know, because I've been in the industry for quite a good period of time, I'm thankful to have a pretty good network, and know a guy that makes a killing in YouTube ads. Took his course and applied it to the solar industry, and now we're working on getting it into the coaching industry as well. And it's just a matter of coming up with content. And really, that's the biggest challenge that we've had so far since making the switch, is just content creation. So,
yeah, well, yeah, what a journey, man. That's I love a good COVID story, and I think it literally, you know, mayhem. It was mayhem for a lot of people, and people like yourself that obviously had the fortitude and the toolkit to come out the other side and kind of look at it and go, actually, what's the opportunity here, right? Yeah. How am I going to come out better from this? How can I make things work within this volatile situation that we're in? Other people that are still around and growing their businesses, right, and getting better returns than they were even a few years ago. So they've actually leveraged that chaos and that mayhem to do bigger and better things. So yeah, I love a good story of people coming out stronger out of that sort of experience. So I'm interested to talk maybe a bit around that YouTube ads piece, because it's even though it's been around a while, when people think of advertising and digital, they tend to think Facebook, maybe a bit of Instagram, maybe LinkedIn if they're in that professional network. I think people tend to think of YouTube as a YouTuber, like you grow a YouTube audience, less about advertising. Obviously, if we spend time on YouTube, we see all these ads. How do you see YouTube working, particularly for coaches, consultants, people in that sort of industry? How do you make that work? What do we need to consider if we're looking at YouTube ads?
Oh, that's an awesome question, Chris. There's quite a bit actually. And you're right. Even though YouTube's been around for quite a while, especially when it comes to the ad space, it still kind of feels like the wild, wild west, to be honest.
Yeah. Right.
And the biggest thing that I can say is to why you should be using it is, number one, is that, especially because people have been cooped up for so long, we are now adjusted and we are almost conditioned in a way to consume content. And well, what better place to get free content than YouTube? Secondly, in regards just like a business sense, unlike when Facebook or Instagram serves an ad and somebody scrolls through it, even if they never interact with it, that's still an impression. You get charged per impression. Whereas with YouTube, if somebody clicks on that skip ad button because it doesn't pertain to them or whatever, you don't get charged for that. So that's really helpful when it comes to being able to stretch your budget a little bit. Thirdly, is that because people are conditioned to consume content so heavily now, you look at market trends and things like that, the information industry as a whole has boomed massively.
Lots of coaches out there these days.
Yeah.
And information and course creators. Yeah.
Exactly. And, it's up to us as people to choose what content we want to consume or don't want to consume. But as marketers and as value providers, when it comes to my relationship and as well as what my clients do, it's really, really important to deliver that with obviously relevant content. Like if you are a relationship coach, talk about some of the things that might break up relationships. Like, for example, this is an awesome example, Chris. I was just talking to my client earlier about this today. A lot of people that, are going through a separation or going through a divorce, the one side or the other was oblivious to the message and the body language and all that stuff. So if that's like a challenge that you're trying to help people solve, then put out content that's relevant to that. You're like, hey, look, I had a client that, was experiencing X, Y, Z. And what we found out is that by realizing that they were not, they were being more part of the problem instead of part of the solution, that brought the awareness that they needed. And when they realized that, we implemented ABC to solve that problem. Putting out that content that's relevant to them is probably the most important. And then when it comes to being able to make money off of that, making it intimate, making it so that way, it relates to their particular situation, showing them that you care, that you understand, that you're listening to what their issues are. That's something that's really, really important to a lot of people. And I think that's why people don't get the results that they want out of their content, is because they're not coming from it. They're coming at it from a first person perspective versus looking at it in a way that they need to put themselves in their client's shoes or their prospect shoes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you did that. You want to show that empathy, but we're going to step into that persona, step into that problem and show that you understand what it is and you have a solution for it. Yeah, I think that's super important. And obviously that probably works a fair amount better on video, right? When you have something like body language and expression 100%. And language, right? Mm-hmm. If you can get that lined up. So how do you help craft the video, craft the message, sort of write out the script? What involvement in that process do you have? How do you sort of support the client? Say someone like a relationship coach that wants to get on YouTube, how do you start that process for them? How do you say, like, here's the script, here's who we're going to talk to?
I mean, I'm not really a scripted person in general, Chris. My wife hates it when I say this, but I'm more of a fly by the seat of your pants type of guy. I find that when you create something from a genuine spot and then build off of it from there, then it becomes a lot more authentic. And authentic content is really what I find converts. And so I'm not part of the script writing process. And I encourage my clients to write scripts if that's something that helps them perform on video. Where I come in is more of the creative process, and I let them use me as a sounding board. And I literally say, hey, pretend I'm your client. Pretend like I have another coach that I work with that teaches people how to invest into like Bitcoin, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Teaches people how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hey, you know what? I've got 10 grand. Tell me what kind of advice that you would tell me, like, because there's a million different coins out there. It's not just Bitcoin, it's Litecoin, Ethereum, da 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 da. Like, tell me what you would do, as if I'm giving you $10,000 and telling you go make me more money with it.
Yeah, nice. I like that.
And when that happens, and they put themselves in that position as if I'm their client, it becomes more authentic, because they're like, okay, well, wait a minute, what would I really actually do? You know, how would I treat that client? And it helps me actually vet my clients as well as an entrepreneur and as a digital marketer, in regards to being able to weed out the people that are full of shit and that are just, you know, out to make a quick buck off somebody from a program. You know?
Yeah. That word authenticity is something that comes up a lot. I think more and more brands and personality and businesses need to have that authenticity, but it's also, as you're saying, authenticity is a marketing tactic as well, right? So there's always that kind of balance between I'm pretending to be authentic because authenticity works, versus I'm genuinely coming from a place of this is me, this is who I am, this is what I do. I think this can tend to show up in a lot of that sort of organic authority building type marketing that we sort of see a lot more, particularly, you know, platforms like Facebook and that sort of thing. But I really like that process, as you say, like pretend I'm the person that you're going to talk to, pretend I'm that avatar, and yeah, here's 10 grand. What would you do with it? So does that then become sort of the script, and they've given it a run through, and now they've got something they can go off and produce that piece of content for an ad?
Yeah, exactly. And then what they can do is they can go, because we obviously I work a lot in Google Drive and all that stuff. We got shared documents and you know, things like that. And you know, what they can do is we can write out those bullet pointed ideas in a shared Google Doc. They go into that same Google Doc, they write the script, and you know, my wife works with me as well. It's not just me sitting here in my bedroom like I am right now. You know, I've got my wife, I've got a couple of VAs that work with me and all that stuff to help us. And you know, my wife thankfully was an English major. She actually went to school to be a teacher, but that was during 2008, during that economic downturn. So she decided
Mayhem
to
everywhere,
take that and then take her knowledge and then help the team grow. And so she'll go in and she'll proofread everything. We'll go in and we'll edit it for you know, for not I don't want to say grammar, because what I find is that sometimes poor grammar and speaking the way that you would speak in real life works better in ads than, you know, a properly formed paragraph or whatever.
Yeah.
But
it comes down to the authenticity, right, and the tone of voice and that person's character.
Exactly. So we'll go in. Yeah, we'll go in and we'll create all that stuff for the client, and we'll send it back for approval. And as soon as they approve the copy, we go in, we attach it to the video, we drive it to, you know, some landers. Right now we're using Go High Level for the landers, but you know, we have clients that prefer ClickFunnels or lead pages or something like that. It all kind of works the same. It doesn't really matter. It just, as long as you have a place that is gathering the information, collecting the lead, putting those people onto a list, or retargeting stack on the back end for people that didn't actually purchase the program or whatever. There's a lot of different tactics that go into it at that point. But you know, really what it comes down to is especially with like all the tracking challenge things that are going on with iOS 14 and the Apple updates, and Google and Chrome eliminating cookie tracking soon. All that stuff's going to go away. So really what it's going to come down to is your content. What is your messaging? Who are you getting to that person with the right message at the right time? And are you authentic and intimate enough to be able to make sure that that person is going to have enough, I don't want to call it pain, but enough incentive to click on the ad and go through your program and at least give you a shot to pitch them.
Yeah.
Because when it comes,
sorry.
I was going to say, when it comes to sales, really bottom line is that, there's a lot of things that you can do in regards to, you know, upping your conversion rates and all that stuff. But really it's a numbers game. the more pitches you have, the more sales you're going to get. And the more authentic and the more intimate you are with your messaging, as long as it's getting to the right person at the right time, then the more pitches you're going to be able to produce.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah. It does come down to numbers. The more people you can drive into the top of that funnel, the more are going to drop out the bottom. To a certain extent. But that's also the power of YouTube, right? You think YouTube is it's the second most powerful search engine. So people that are coming to YouTube, sort of mentioned the Facebook's feed earlier. In Facebook, stuff just shows up because it's based on other stuff that I like. Yeah. And I might not actually be in purchase mode or decision or search mode. Whereas when I'm in YouTube, I'm searching for things. I'm in that next category. Now, maybe I'm aware that I have a problem. I'm aware that I have a challenge. I'm trying to solve it. I'm searching. So it's a much different modality for the customer. I'm showing up. There's a different context in YouTube. And I think that's kind of what makes it powerful. So is that something you take into consideration? We say, we know people are here looking. I mean, how do you build that in terms of the technical aspect? How are you targeting and making sure got a great message? How are you making sure sort of technically from a keyword, from a search perspective, how are you positioning that to make sure the right people are seeing it?
Oh, well, fantastic question again, Chris. So there, I really, especially because Facebook's been so buggy lately over the past, I mean, since before COVID, really. It was like last year. No, before last year, the year before last, that it like all these different issues started popping up. So I really have become an advocate of not necessarily using just one channel. Don't just use one channel. Like for example, we have another client that we work with that they're not into YouTube quite yet, but we leverage their efforts on LinkedIn, and then we pull all the data from their LinkedIn prospecting and we put it into their ad account within Facebook, so that way we are only targeting the people that already know them on LinkedIn on their Facebook and Instagrams based off their email addresses.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Every single one of my clients at this point, it has some sort of an email program. Some of them we've helped build here at Mayhem. Some of them, they already came to us with them. We just, curated them and expanded on them. So that's something that is huge. Owning your data, regardless of what platform and regardless of what situation you're using right now or you're encountering right now, is going to be huge. 2021, 2022, moving forward forever into the foreseeable future.
Yeah, you want to essentially get people off of platform as quickly as possible. That's the aim of the game, right? And you talk about you want to capture that attention and then get it out of there, get it into an email list, get it into your own ecosystem.
Yep.
I think you bang on there. That's always been important, but even more important these days with things getting shut down. So even something like Facebook could disappear overnight, or your account could disappear overnight very easily.
I've got stories about that, man. You don't even want to hear what I had to go through back in 2018 with that. That's the other thing too, is that if you have your own ecosystem, you can utilize that ecosystem to leverage all the other platforms. And like, let's say for example, I'm not in search mode, but I see an ad on in my Facebook feed, and I'm like, hey, I click on it, but I don't do anything with it, right?
Yeah,
I can take that data and I can retarget it, and I can put that data into YouTube, especially if I have an email address, or vice versa. And then now all of a sudden, instead of marketing to 50,000 people in this big pond where there might be 10 other competitors, now I'm marketing to 1,000 people that have already seen me on one platform or the other. So I become a much bigger fish in a much smaller pond.
And so you find that level of segmentation is working much better, where you're literally coming down to that 1,000, 10,000 people rather than 100,000, those bigger audiences. Yeah.
In some cases, I credit what I'm saying to you to two gentlemen, Kurt Molly, Black Box Social Media. He runs the Belt Method, and then Scott Oldford, who runs the ROI Method, and Scott Oldford's a genius too. Both of them are by far and away some of the smartest guys that I've ever had the opportunity to be coached by. Awesome. And we, like, for example, we have in that big fish in the smaller pond, we have like a digital newspaper that'll run to those 1,000 people in some cases, but we're only spending $1 a day on on each piece of content. So we might have 20 pieces of content going out, but it's only being sent to those 1,000 people, and we're only spending $1 a day on it. So it's $20 a day for that content. So it almost creates like a digital newspaper that never stops.
Interesting.
And
that's a really interesting way to think about it.
Yeah. And not only are they seeing me on YouTube, are they seeing me on Facebook, are they seeing me on LinkedIn, but now they see videos of people that I've worked with, or testimonials, or just knowledge on how to solve a particular problem within that niche, and they're seeing it every day. So when I finally launch of that bottom of funnel, and I say, hey, here's a $2,500 offer. Do you want to learn how to do this? Or do you want to learn how to fix your marriage? Or do you want to learn how to make a bunch of money with Bitcoin? Or do you want to be king of your castle and be able to, rule, like, not just your family, but, help others as well? Like, this is like when that offer is presented, there is no shopping around.
Yeah, you're the authority.
Yeah,
the go-to.
Yeah, I'm the authority, or my clients are the authority, and it's just like, okay, this makes perfect sense, and I've been seeing this for so long because I keep interacting with the content. The more I interact with the content, that's how the algorithms are built. Yeah. So that's really, like I said, I've been doing this stuff a long time. So when I get to the point that I know so much, I tend to have verbal diarrhea, so I'll stop there.
No, it's super interesting, man. I love that hyper focus, hyper niching, hyper targeting. If you can find, if there's that sort of business saying, if you can find 1,000 people that love what you do and will buy your product, you've got a really solid business. You've got 100,000 people that aren't that interested. Doesn't really matter. If you can find a hyper targeted 1,000 people that will pretty much buy anything you publish, you're in a pretty good state.
Yeah. See, and it's not to say that that other 90 isn't in that, it won't eventually be in that 1,000, but focus on that 1,000s, invest in that 1,000 so that way you have the money to reach the 90,000 when they get to that point where the 1,000 are,
Yeah, nice.
So,
love it. Yeah, really cool stuff, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Heaps of value. So if people want to get in touch with you, solve their mayhem, right? Come out of a bit of mayhem and get a bit of clarity and focus and build all of their channels and build that ecosystem. What's the best way for them to reach out and get in touch with you?
You can always reach out to me via our Facebook page is probably the best way to reach me, because I am always on Messenger and I am talking to people constantly. Visit our website, mayhemdigitalmedia.com. And then my LinkedIn profile, I am always on there as well, but it's more branded to my previous brand. Before COVID happened, LinkedIn for some reason won't let me change my link. I'm not sure. So, but yeah, Facebook.com/Mayhem Digital. You can reach us there. Just message the page. That gets to me directly, and that is probably the fastest and easiest way to ask anything that you need. And we can, and then the website also has several booking links. You can look at our testimonials and our case studies and book a call straight from the website based off your schedule as well. So
awesome, man. Thank you. Love the conversation. Always, good to get some different perspectives. And I find YouTube and video and that side of things really interesting. And it really always comes down to that authenticity and just being genuine. And if you're genuine and you can really connect to a few people, you can grow a business.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Chris. I really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And thanks for everyone watching. Thanks for sticking around and hanging out with us on this episode. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in. Wayne, thanks for being here. We'll keep in touch and chat to you soon.
We'll keep in touch. Talk to you guys soon.